Hello again, and welcome to AstroPrinter. My name is Liam, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to divide your part up. And I don't mean actually splitting your part, but let's say there's a big influence right now with IDEX, or independent tool extruder printers, and there's a few of them coming to market right now. And there's been questions asking about how can I extend, like if I have two parts, or if how can I print one with the other? Well, that's easy enough. But how would I take a solid part, like this for instance, and divide this? So if it's a really large part and I know I need more than one spool of filament, but I want to divide the part so part of it's printed with one spool and part of it was printed with another spool of filament going into different extruders, like such as in an IDEX printer. Well, that can be done, and I want to walk people through how it's done. So this is a single solid piece that I have here. It's just a little bracket that I created with some dovetails over here and another dovetail on the back, and it's designed as a filament runout sensor holder that can actually move. Now I want to divide this part up into let's say two pieces, and I want the first half of it to go to extruder 1 and the second half of it to go to extruder 2. Now I could take it into other software and split it in half and then bring it back in here and merge them and assign one to the other, and that's possible. But what if I don't want to do that? What if I want to do it within Cura? Well, it is possible within Cura. So the first thing we're going to do is going to select the part we want, and I'm going to select my support blocker and click support blocker, put a block there. Now I want to resize that block, so I select my eraser and I go to my sizing, and I turn off the uniform scaling because I don't want it uniformly scaled, and I want to make it wider. I want to make it much longer than my part, and let's say we're going to make it about halfway up, maybe a little less, and then I'll actually move it, and I want to bring it up to a better height. So let me see, as long as it's overlapping I'll come down a little bit. Actually, let's do a little bit, make it more interesting. How about if I rescale this again and make it smaller? So we're going to actually change the extruder multiple times during my print. So again, I'll go back into my move, and the first one I want to do is I want to make sure it brings it down. The whole base is going to be 1. So this support blocker is actually covering the whole base of my print. Now this has been set up as a custom FFF printer with 2 extruders. Now to make one part of it print with a different extruder, because I want to divide it, what I do is I select the eraser part, which is this gray area, the support blocker, and I'm going to change it from being a support blocker to be something new. So I'm going to click on per model settings, and I'm going to go to modify settings for overhangs. Now by default that's set to infill mesh only, so it actually only modifies the infill, but I don't want it to do that. I actually wanted to change the cutting mesh. Now what I've done is that cutting mesh area that I just selected, I can assign this to extruder 2. So anywhere this overlaps, because we're setting for modify settings for overlaps, anywhere this block overlaps is assigned to extruder 2. And then when I go to the main part, it's assigned here to extruder 1. So what if I want to change that part to the way up again? So I can do that. So I can take this one, which is my eraser, and I can duplicate it, and now I'm going to take that duplication, and let me just change my position here. I'm going to move my part, so I'm going to slide it up because I want it higher. I'm going to slide it across. Now basically what I've done is I've taken a copy of the bottom one and moved it up to overlap with my main part, and it still has the same settings because I duplicated it. So again, if I go in here to check, it's set to modify to a cutting mesh, and it's assigned to extruder 2. So this is extruder 2, so is this, but everything else goes to extruder 1. So basically what's going to happen when I slice is, it's going to slice the part, but it's going to slice the part and tell the system, your printer, that extruder 2 is used in this area here to print this area. Then it will stop. Extruder 1 will cut in and do this area. Then when that's printed up to that level, then extruder 2 will come online and print this area again. And then we'll go back to extruder 1 for the top area. So these two areas are done with extruder 1. These two areas here are done with extruder 2. And it's all just by changing. Now if I want to change them around and I want to do one with extruder 1, one with extruder 2, I can do that. Let's say I want to switch them up. So this is set for extruder 2 right now. I just click on extruder 1 with that one. Now it's changed. And change this one to extruder 1, because I switch my colors around, and then make the main part of extruder 2. So this is 1, as you see here, highlighted in grey. This one here is extruder 1, and the main part is extruder 2. So it's a very, very easy fix to slice your part up. So if in the case you're doing a really large print and you know it's going to take more than one spool of filament, but you can estimate about half is going to filament spool 1, half is going to filament spool 2. There is no way of making Cura or your printer recognize that spool 1 has run out, so now start using spool 2 on extruder 2, because spool 1 is in extruder 1. But what you can do here is you can actually split the part and tell the different sections of the print to be printed by different extruders, by using the support blocker and by using the per model settings. And by using when you're on the per model settings, you use the modify settings for overhangs, set it to cutting mesh, not infill mesh. By default it'll go to infill mesh, and then you assign that mesh then to your extruder, and that way you divide the part into multiple pieces and assign it to each individual extruder. Even if it's the same material, it won't matter. It will actually switch over and back based on what you have set here. Then you just go to slice, send it to your printer, and print. Now I cannot actually print it. I don't have an IDEX printer or a dual extruder printer, so I can't actually show you this working, but it does work. So if you like the content, please click on subscribe and the thumbs up and the like below, and please consider checking out some of my links below, also to some of my affiliate links, and also to consider subscribing to my Patreon page. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay printing. Thank you.